Welcome back to the Two-Way Report. Suppressors are some of the most evil things ever intended by man. They were made to reduce the noise level of a gunshot, which might sound harmless, even helpful, especially to shooters who want to protect their hearing. But criminals love them because they make their job much easier. Now, us pro-Second Amendment advocates argue that suppressors don't make guns completely silent, as they simply reduce the noise level. People in the area will still hear the gun go off. But the champions of anti-Second Amendment Senate and Congress assert that suppressors are misused by criminals to make it harder for law enforcement to locate them during an active shooter event. Last April 27th, Senator Bob Menendez, a co-founder of the Senate Gun Violence Prevention Caucus, and Congresswoman Bonnie Watson-Coleman have reintroduced the HERE Act, a federal gun safety bill that will prohibit the importation, sale, manufacturing, transfer, and possession of firearm suppressors or silencers. These are some of the brightest communist senators and representatives who are hellbent in making suppressors illegal because, in a nutshell, it has no purpose but to aid criminals. If you've never heard of the HERE Act before, Senator Menendez and Congresswoman Watson-Coleman introduced the HERE Act in 2019 after the tragic mass shooting at Virginia Beach, where the shooter used a suppressor on a .45 ACP handgun to attack a local government office building, resulting in the deaths of 12 people and injuries to 4 others. In addition, they cited incidents over the last decade where gun silencers were supposedly used. One, on January 21st, 2023, in Monterey Park, California, an armed attacker used a homemade suppressor on a semi-automatic weapon to kill 11 people and injure 9 others. 2. In December 2017, police in Jacksonville, Florida, arrested an individual for possessing a silencer he had purchased from an undercover detective. The suspect had, planned to shoot up an Islamic center. Take note of that. He had only planned. There were no murders. 3. In Southern California, in February 2013, a former Los Angeles police officer used a silencer to conceal the sound of gunfire while he killed 4 people and injured 3 others over 9 days. Nearby residents did not report the shots because the suppressor distorted the sound and masked the muzzle flash. Arguably, the number of people this criminal killed wouldn't have been affected by the suppressor, and whether or not the police would have caught him if he hadn't used a suppressor is anybody's guess. And lastly, in Toledo, Ohio, in January 2011, a man fatally shot his co-worker while the victim was eating breakfast in his office. No one heard the gunshot, and the victim's co-workers initially assumed he had died of a heart attack. Later, police determined that the killer had used a silencer. This was only one guy killed. Why did they even bother to include this in their proposal? Because those are the only ones they can talk about where a suppressor was used. Even the ATF, which everyone considers one of the most tyrannical federal government agencies these days, has confirmed that suppressors are hardly ever used in criminal activities. In fact, of 1,297,670 suppressors registered with the ATF, only 44 silencer-related crimes were recorded annually over the last 10 years, which translates to roughly 0.03% of silencers being used in criminal activities each year. Additionally, of those 44 crimes, only 6 involved defendants who had prior felony convictions. Truly, if a suppressor is an effective tool for criminals, you would hear reports of it being used on a daily basis, wouldn't we? Let's talk about suppressors real quick, in case we have viewers who were just recently red-pilled and have no idea what it is. A suppressor, also known as a can or silencer, is a device used on firearms to reduce the noise level of a gunshot. Despite their name, suppressors do not completely eliminate the sound of a gunshot, and guns equipped with suppressors are still loud. The principle behind a suppressor is similar to that of a bathtub drain. By creating a swirl in the gas that propels the bullet through the barrel, the gas exits the muzzle more slowly and produces less noise. A suppressor typically takes the form of a canister attached to the gun muzzle containing baffles that create the swirling effect and reduce the sound of the gunshot. The Maxim silencer, the first sound moderator for firearms, was introduced to the market in 1909 by its inventor, Hiram Percy Maxim. The name silencer was actually a marketing exaggeration, much like calling a flannel shirt an Arctic coat. Maxim also applied his noise-reducing technology to other machines that emitted loud noises, such as automobile mufflers. The use of sound moderators made shooting more enjoyable and protected the shooter's hearing in the long run. Even President Theodore Roosevelt used a Maxim silencer on his 1894 Winchester lever-action rifle. Today, Maxim silencers no longer produces sound moderators for firearms, but continues to manufacture noise-reducing devices for other applications. Suppressors have been a subject of controversy in recent years. Our idiotic, anti-Second Amendment lawmakers argue that if suppressors are widely available, people will not be able to hear mass shootings happening nearby. But is this really the case? According to the physics of sound, a suppressor can reduce the noise level of a gunshot by up to 30 decibels, depending on the type of gun, ammunition, and suppressor used. To put this in perspective, a shot from an SKS rifle with 7.62mm ammunition without a suppressor can produce a sound of 165 decibels. That's more than twice as loud as a jet takeoff if you're 25 meters from the jet. With a suppressor, the same rifle would produce a sound of around 140 decibels, which is equivalent to standing on an active aircraft carrier deck. Similarly, a Smith & Wesson 9mm handgun without a suppressor can produce a sound of 157 to 160 decibels, which is comparable to the sound of a jet engine at takeoff. With a suppressor, the sound level drops to around 127 to 130 decibels, which is roughly equivalent to the sound of a jackhammer. Therefore, while suppressors can certainly reduce the noise level of a gunshot, the claim that people will not be able to hear criminal gunfire is not well supported by physics. These assertions are more consistent with how suppressors are portrayed in movies than with the actual science behind them. But again, our stupid lawmakers associate suppressors with stealthy killers who use them to carry out their deadly missions without being detected, all thanks to Hollywood movies. The way suppressors are portrayed in movies is not only inaccurate but also misleading, as they are not magical devices that can make guns silent. Again, suppressors can reduce the noise level of a gunshot, but they cannot completely eliminate it. Despite this, the common image of suppressors in popular culture has contributed to the perception that they are dangerous and should be banned. This demonization of suppressors by Hollywood is not new. It is part of a larger pattern in which guns and gun accessories are often portrayed in an overly dramatic or unrealistic way in movies and TV shows. This can lead to misconceptions and misunderstandings about firearms and gun safety, which can in turn fuel the ongoing debates around gun control and regulation. Of course, we in the firearms community are aware that Hollywood's portrayals of suppressors and guns are always inaccurate. We are more informed about suppressors and guns because we have practical uses for them. But let's go back to this stupid HERE Act. Displayed on the screen is the bill which seeks to achieve a couple of objectives. A. It aims to remove suppressors from the definition of firearm to exclude them from protection under the Second Amendment. Suppressors are simply tubes with baffles and holes, and providing further details might violate certain laws. B. The bill intends to prohibit the importation, sale, manufacturing, transfer, and possession of suppressors for everyone except the military and police. If the bill becomes law, the Attorney General must implement a buyback program within 90 days of passing and a president's signature. There's a 90-day grace period for all of us who possess suppressors to surrender them through the buyback program. Otherwise, we all risk becoming felons. To illustrate the extent of the author's ignorance and irrationality and the gullibility of their supporters, I would like to share a few quotes from them regarding the bill. For Senator Bob Menendez, quote, "Gun silencers are devices designed for a very specific purpose, to suppress the sound of gunfire from unsuspecting victims and reduce the chances they can run, hide, take cover, and call the police during an active shooter situation." He also said, quote, "It is well past time that we pass the HERE Act, legislation that would prevent armed assailants from using deadly devices that only make incidents of gun violence all the more dangerous." And for Representative Watson Coleman, quote, "Silencers are not tools of self-defense, they are tools of murder. They have no legal application, which is why law enforcement officials around the country have called for their elimination." She also claimed, quote, "The HERE Act will save lives and is part of the common sense approach to firearms legislation that has widespread support among voters on both sides of the aisle. Not only has this congresswoman gone full retard, but suppressors have no legal use, then no one would need them, right? Not the police, not the military. That's good news for them, but not for you guys and gals." Despite failing in 2019, this bill's fate is uncertain. And regrettably, that's all the time we have for today. If you have pro-Second Amendment family and friends who you know love their suppressors, please share this video with them so they're aware of what's going on. Like, share, subscribe, and click on that little notification bell too so you don't miss out on the latest pro-Second Amendment news. Thanks for watching and you have a good one.